Let me see for live.
Episode is brought to you by Mecca Books, your source for traditional Islamic knowledge. It's where seekers of knowledge go to buy their books. Go directly to Mecca Books because they have a massive catalog that covers just about every topic from fiqh, aqidah, hadith, tasawwuf, and everything else in between. You can go to meccabooks.com/TMM and use the code TMM for a 10% discount.
Yeah, way more than that. Nope. And of course, everything is acting wonky. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the MOBS podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Mort and... Why is this not working? We got some technical issues. If we have anyone who's watching, please let us know if we're having any audio issues or anything in the chat.
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, the popular host of Muzzy Buzz, Mort, and Sunnah Discourse as well. You look like Miami Mort today.
Oh, really? Yeah, Fedora Mort. It's working.
I love the outfit, bro.
Oh, really?
You're
Thank
bringing
you.
the...
It's the last day of summer. It's gonna be like 65 degrees tomorrow. I figured let me embrace the cotton, cotton linen shirt summer. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Otherwise, it's gonna go in the closet for the next whole year, right?
Yeah.
Let me enjoy it.
Sweet. All right, we have our guest host who will be coming on regularly, inshallah. I've twisted his arm a bit to come on the show. Shaq from Janwaar Fitness. He's been a previous guest of ours, I think a couple years ago. He's a specimen, to say the least, but amazing dude. Always has great takes on things. So I thought he was a natural fit for our show. And you guys are going to meet some other guests as the weeks go forward. But Shaq is a really fun guy to talk to and a great entertainer. You've been doing your own podcasting too as well. So you want to give a shout out to your channel?
Yeah, it's called the Janwaar Fitness Podcast.
Okay.
Named after our company. It's just about health and fitness.
Yeah.
So can I just say, yeah. So the first time, we're probably gonna show our age here, but the first time I bumped into was actually online.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are younger, I mean, actually maybe it's still popular. There's a game called Modern Warfare.
Modern Warfare.
Oh my God, we would spend hours on this game. I've never been so addicted to a game in my life.
Yeah.
And we're all in the background, right? And so I see this guy gaming with us. And by the way, there'd be like 15, 20 people like in this party, right? I don't know who's who,
All
right?
guys, yeah.
And we all had there was this tag. I don't want to say what it was, but everyone had this tag on their name. He's a part of this big clan. And then I see this guy named Iflas. And only Hadarajis know what Iflas means, right? Because it's something
all of our moms always call us.
Yeah, if you're lazy, if you're lazy or it's like a loafer, right?
There you go.
So they say Iflas, and some people were called it so much growing up, they thought that was their name. Iflas, you know what I mean? And so I see this guy, the nickname, and we'd be playing all the time. And then I'm like, oh, and I finally got to meet him eventually. But that was, I think that the time after that was when we connected was when you were doing some help with the Muslim funeral home.
Right. That was doing that for a long time.
And so because actually that was my one of my relatives was being buried, and I remember bumping into you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first time I encountered Shaq, and we were like, we just talk online and vibe on while we're playing Xbox till like 3-4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Pre-marriage days, nothing going on, right? So it's like, and then and that's how I bumped into him, and then. But it was just funny. I always remember Iflas on Xbox Live.
Shaq, you still do funeral services?
No, it's been a while.
No?
Yeah.
Oh man.
2016, I think was the last time.
That you have some stories from there.
Yeah, I did that for a while. I did that from 2006 till 2014. So that was a while. Yeah.
What's the biggest takeaway from that whole experience doing that? What did you learn? What did you come away with?
Man, well, everyone's gonna die. It's so unreal. It's you know, you forget that, right? Like I realize that on a day-to-day basis, people don't think about that.
Yeah.
You know, we get so caught up in our daily lives, but you know, you go there every day and you have people dying from, you know, 0 till whatever, you know, 100, right? So it's like there's no rhyme or reason. Anyone can pass away at any time. You know, there's no, you know, all these plans and thoughts and ideas that we have.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the stuff that we're so caught up on, we forget so easily, you know. But that's like, you know, my takeaway, I mean, I was just reminded of death every single day. Right?
So let me ask you this, though. Like, you know, did it change? Because a lot of times when people think about death, they think like, oh, the old people. I'm going to get older.
No way. I buried, dude, like I said, I buried from 0 to, you know, to old. And there was, like I said, there was no rhyme or reason, right? We had people dying in their 20s and their, you know, teens and little kids and babies. I buried so many little kids, you know, so many babies, so many babies. You know, you don't think about stuff, right? Like diseases and accidents and you know, like congenital anomalies. Like they were born with congenital diseases. So some of those kids are dying. We have stillbirths. We have, you know, people died of little kids dying of asthma attacks. I had a little kid who choked on a peanut and died, 3 years old. You know, I mean, there's just you just see, and you meet the crazy. You just meet all kinds of people.
Do you ever get numb to that and like not like feeling emotions anymore?
You know, I think you know, from even before that, I wasn't when it comes to death, I have a very different response.
Wow, I think that kind of person is needed to do that kind of work, because
You
I
know,
would be breaking down crying every.
I think I could do that. I could be Undertaker. Well, you know,
you do have a very cold heart.
Yeah, I do. No, I tell you, I think part of the reason why is because I saw death very early on.
Yeah.
Like when I was like from the age of like 7 onward, like I swear to God, year after year, was someone dead in my family.
Yeah.
And like my cousin got shot like 7 times, and then then my uncle died, then my grandfather died, and another young cousin died, and then my uncle died, and I'm sitting, and my dad always making me watch these bodies with them. You know, we go like when we were a kid, we go watch. He's like, hey, you're gonna have to do this, so we just watch these bodies, so you get numb to it. You know, some people get afraid of seeing a dead body. It doesn't happen to me. You know what I mean? Like, and you know how some people just want to look at the body and be like, oh, I wonder what's happening, right? Like, you know, like, that didn't happen to me. I'm
morbid
like, oh,
people.
yeah. Like they're like, oh my God, because oh, that's another thing, by the way. So. That's one thing I hate about funerals, bro. Okay, why do people have this obsession with seeing the body, bro? Honestly, for me, I told my family when I die, bro, close me up quick, bro. I don't want you to see me, bro. Like just my immediate family, wash me, wrap me up, bro, and close the coffin.
It's a Desi thing. Honestly, it's a Desi thing.
Yeah, and I remember back at IFS days, like it's better now. Yeah. But back when
I remember that. Yeah.
Like they would line up like all around the building just to see this one, like for hours. This guy would be open casket,
and they'd be pissed. They'd be pissed. Oh, we didn't see him. Yeah. I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah, like why can't we see the body? You know what I mean?
I've had to stop this so many times, you know, in my MFS career, because in the beginning we were like that too. We're like, okay, I guess you guys see it. And as we started kind of getting, Mufti Harun is the owner of Muslim Funeral Service and kind of runs it. So a lot of the, I learned a lot from him, and I would ask him these questions all the time, like, yo, is this like, do we need to do this? Or white people? And he'd be upset. He's like, no, it's not. We shouldn't be doing it. You know. And there's like a certain disrespect to that too, right? It's like, how do you like it when you're alive if you're just sitting here and like 1,000 people just coming by, just staring at you and leaving? Nobody likes that, you know. Yeah. It's the same thing, dead or alive.
Pay for that? You're gonna leave me alone, you know.
Right. Islamically, we try to treat the body as if it's still alive, right? We want to make sure that, you're not painting it, you're not hurting it, you're right, you're fulfilling the rights as fast as possible. That's one of the rights.
And that's how I viewed it, right? I'm like, yo, this person, our only job is to make sure that we fulfill his or her right, because they can't do it now. Yeah. So there should be even more care now. Yeah. Than when they're alive, because they can't do it for themselves, right? And so, because recently my aunt just passed away 2 days ago. We buried her in in Elgin, but they started doing it. You know, like everyone was.
They want to see in the grave, right? Open
not in the grave. I'm saying after they washed her in the room, whatever the area, and the immediate grandkids, and I wasn't like an immediate grandkid. I was just a relative, right? So I don't want to go see her. I mean, I don't want to, but everyone just started lining up. Yeah. And I had to mention, I'm like, hey guys, you need to close this up. Like this is not right. Like her Mehrem saw her.
Dude, that's the worst. They do that to the women.
Yeah.
They just, and that took it. I think when Muslim Funeral Services finally came around, we finally stopped that. We said, what the heck is this, dude? I mean, there are Mehrem rules even after death, and reality is, I mean, it's as harsh as it sounds. The Mehrem rules are so insane, dude. If a wife dies, right? If a wife dies in a relationship, boom, the man is no longer Mehrem. He can't even see her technically. No. He's not supposed to touch her. The niqab broke, so he can't no longer touch her body. The woman has 40 days. That she has that whole period of 3 months or whatever it is. So she can technically see and wash the body.
Have you ever played pretend funeral with your wife? Pretend funeral, like,
How do you do that?
like you pretend to be dead, and you have to say like, yeah. So I would pretend to be dead, and I would have my wife Megan recite some words to see what she would say.
Eulogy?
Yeah, eulogy.
I think
like,
God, they like either have her wash me and wrap me. That would be some weird stuff, man.
Craziness, man. Absolute craziness.
no, I think that way you like try to understand what your wife really thinks about you. You know,
Yeah.
like at least it's like an exercise. You know, of what's coming. You know, that's a reminder. I think it's a healthy exercise for couples.
They're very unique ones.
That's like
My wife is probably cringing right now. She's in the chat. She's like, "How do you spell Shaq's name?" She's adding the titles. So, what is your last name, by the way?
Shafiuddin.
Shafiuddin.
Janwaar.
We'll just call you Shaq the Janwaar.
Janwaar, yeah, that's what it works.
Awesome. So where were we at? Hey, so are you? Did you ever listen to this podcast that first started all podcasting? Called Serial, where this kid named Adnan Syed was falsely accused of murder.
Yeah.
And apparently, after 20 years of being in jail, that podcast I think that podcast was over several years ago. I think it was 2016 when it ended.
2014, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
When it finally ended. But they were still fighting the courts, in the courts, trying to get him free. A lot of, even being Muslim, I felt like he was actually responsible for it because it seemed like there's no one else who had a motive to kill him, kill the girl, but him. And apparently the prosecution at that time had
Skipped over 2 witnesses, right?
Yeah, they skipped over a couple
Or
witnesses.
they didn't declare them. They didn't let the defense know that there were 2 additional suspects in question.
Yeah.
And totally denied it. And I have to admit here, I don't admit this very often, but I was wrong. 'Cause I remember a while ago, you guys can go back to the episode we talked about it. I'm like, this guy's guilty. He did it. You know what I mean? Like, and I was very adamant about it, right? I'm like, I watched it. But in light of new evidence, I will retract what I said and hope that he gets left free if that's if that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But I think right now the whole thing is I don't think he's out of the water yet, out of the woods yet. The prosecution has to decide whether they want to retry. Obviously, after mentioning that there's 2 additional suspects. Yeah. If they feel they have strong enough evidence to still convict him, they have to decide whether they want to go to trial or whether they just want to not retry and let him go. So he's still not. They have 30 days to decide that. Yeah. Dang. So inshallah, if he's innocent,
inshallah he's innocent.
Let him go. If he's not, man, get him.
Yeah. But then what are they gonna do about the other 2 witnesses? They bring him. They start the retrial.
So again, that depends on if the prosecution can because they may choose to go after them, right? They may choose to do something else, right? But it's all about the evidence, right? Right. But they may not, or nothing may happen to them. Yeah. Maybe they, it all depends on the evidence they have. Yeah. Look, what's stacked up against as a case, right? Yeah. But we're hoping that whatever it is, exonerates the brother. He seems like he's changed in prison, and I saw some of those video clips and stuff like that. But I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. Me neither, bro.
Well, a lot of people didn't watch it, but they find out from like other people who are like obsessed with it. Saturday Night Live had skits on it, and it was very much viral. But
I remember it being viral. I remember listening to the whole story and figuring it out from people.
Everyone's like you're hearing people debate, and you kind of piece together the whole story.
HBO docuseries.
That was a documentary.
There was a HBO series called Night Of by who's that guy? Riz Ahmed.
Yes, very famous actor.
So he had a very similar story.
Right.
At least that wasn't a real story, but it was kind of loosely based on Adnan Syed's story.
Yeah, I think so. They ended up with him in jail.
Ended up him in jail. Then he finally got released. He did lots of nasty stuff, but it's like, did you watch it?
Yeah.
What the attorney?
He's a good actor.
No, I'll be honest. You know what it is? Like, okay, look. Sometimes people tend to be like this whole on this SJW thing and like, oh, free Adnan. I thought it was just an emotional thing. Yeah. Right? Like they just wanted him to be innocent, right? because sometimes a lot of them tended to be the women, right? And I don't know, maybe they liked the way you look, maybe they felt empathized.
Did
right?
you see that tweet today from that chick Rabia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, okay, so that's another thing. That's another thing, bro. Like I very much dislike her.
Yeah,
so
I know, a lot of
I would take a position.
Tell people why, because still a lot of people don't
So
understand why.
okay, so my personal dealing with her is the whole MLI thing.
Yeah.
Right. And for people who don't know that, MLI is called a Muslim Leadership Initiative, and it is something sponsored by the Shalom Hartman Institute, which is a very much a Zionist entity or group that that seeks to promote Zionism, but the way they're choosing to do it through MLI is by trying to recruit oddball, charismatic Muslims or people, maybe Muslims that are in power or whatever. Maybe they're journalists, but no one takes in
Power.
Yeah, with power, right? But like, for example, there are very good writers, right? And maybe they're in the secular world, but they're kind of shunned from the Muslim world because they're oddballs for us, right? They try to grab them and use them to be the face of this institute and say, look, we visited Israel, we went on this tour, and we loved it, right? I mean, it was such a, we have to understand their plight. And so they're trying to use the angle of being unbiased and open-minded and putting them and making them as the faith, and she had no problem.
While tens of thousands of people are dying in Gaza, by the way.
Yeah.
So she's her. It's not just her, but a group of individuals, Harun Mogul or Wajahad.
I love their
Wajahad,
names.
Wajahad.
Calling out names just straight up.
Yeah, bro. These guys
restrict me on Janwaar.
These guys are little made up celebrities.
Yeah, I know.
At least Rabia had something going with this whole serial thing, but she's still. I mean,
a nobody.
But the others were like op-ed writers, like they were just. I mean, they were showing their views and and like secular, like liberal sources, right? But they really would not have been known had it not been for this entity like propping them up, right? And so that's why we mention them. And it's not really backbiting because they put it out there. Like, this is what they wear this on their sleeve. Like,
look,
we're part of the MLI.
Anything put in public is not backbiting.
They got their hands on everything. Now they got their hands on the Muslim Ummah, just trying to propagate some public.
And I think at the very least, even if you wanted to see for your own stuff, maybe you didn't believe, because look, there's propaganda on both sides. I understand that. But even if you wanted to, you could have done that on your own accord.
Right.
You didn't need to go under their direction, under their discretion.
I mean, come on. There's no secret here. They're going to show you with the best side of their part.
Yeah. And then it would have been.
And I've actually read some of these people that came back from there, and they're actually writing in support. Oh no, they're doing a great job, and they're trying to do this, and then they've actually kind of alluded to the fact that it's the Palestinians that are
they need to be peaceful.
Yeah,
they need to stop terrorizing. Right. And see, I would have said, okay, you know what? I would have been maybe more empathetic if they actually did. The Palestinian version of what they did for the MLI, and go in their territories and see what they say.
They can't sponsor that.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And then you come if they came to a conclusion based on that, I would say, okay, maybe it's less biased, right? I mean, I'd still be dodgy about it, but at least you made the effort to try to see.
I think when it comes to that specific situation over there, there's no bias or unbiased. That's straight bull from the get go. Everybody knows that.
The Israeli government actually works very hard to bring celebrities and anyone they can to undermine the boycott, divestment, and sanctions of BDS movement. And they work hard to lobbying in the United States. I think you can't even be a government employee in Texas if you are a supporter of BDS.
Can you believe that?
So you can't even be advocating for boycotting Israel.
So much for freedom, right?
Yeah. So I think some teacher or someone in the public
I remember that
education system in Texas.
Yes, this happened. Yeah. So actually, here's another crazy part. It got to a point where they passed a bill in Texas. Remember when Hurricane Katrina happened? So in order for you to be eligible for federal disaster aid, you couldn't be part of the BDS movement.
Holy crap.
It disqualifies you from that. And Hassan Shibli talked about this. Like, and they had challenged a lot of these things that are unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they had there's a landmark case with them in Texas with that T-shirt.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because they're trying to force her to have an opinion on something politically. And so, but they don't. And it goes to show you that they don't care about their secular politics.
No.
They don't. The principles they claim to embody. And
even freedom of speech, the highest principle that they hold in regard.
Get at, right? Like the whole idea of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, all these principles they claim to embody, and what separates them from the third world and like the evil religious world, right?
The savages.
They easily turn their back on it, right? They easily turn their back on it when it suits their agenda,
right.
And they did it actually with boldly, like, hey, we're gonna enact legislation that actually, I mean, how dumb could you be? You know what I mean? Like, people can see that. It's not even like it was hidden. It was like, oh,
but nobody, what are they gonna do? You know,
the audacity that we're gonna, well, I mean, they got challenged, thankfully, right?
Yeah.
But they had such audacity with it that it was like, oh, we're gonna make legislation about it now, right? And it's pretty crazy, but I think tides are turning. I mean, there's conversation about that's happening there in Congress and Congress halls, and I'm not saying I trust them, but it's different to see. You know what I mean? So
no, Adnan Syed is a 40-year-old guy now, and
we're back to Adnan.
well, yeah, we
really gotta cover this guy. All right, let's talk about.
I want to know why. What you would do after you're out of prison after 20 years? What's the first? I mean, you're gonna want to get laid, right?
Yeah, get married. You know what I mean?
That tweet from Rabia about ladies lay off of him. You know, it's so common, right? That there's this whole like subgroup of women who are like crazy about these guys who are in jail.
Yeah.
And I read that tweet, it was on one of those WhatsApp groups for my friends. I was like, man, I don't understand that mentality from women.
See, girls love bad boys, you know.
Whatever.
You know why they do though? they like bad boys, not in the sense like of their criminal activity. They don't want to be under fear of death or anything, but they want a guy who leads the pack, meaning like he's afraid to go against the grain. Yeah.
Nah, I don't think.
I think it's a little more.
There's girls who like that kind. I'm not saying every single girl.
But there's that group that's after him.
So I think there's another aspect too, right? For years they've been like empathetic. Oh, free Adnan, free him. He's so nice. He's so, look at him. He looks so masoom, right? I mean, they have this thing. Yeah, right. They're like, now he's such a good guy. Like, they had this thing about
these people are not trying to marry you.
Man,
some of these people I just want to hook up. Someone I just serve them. Someone want to marry him. You know, there's all kinds of people you find in that group, man.
I'm sure that's there, but they have this thing as the good guy who was framed. He loved his girlfriend.
They're even like the bad, you know, even the convicted felons, the ones who are like, you know, they have those.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
You ever seen those shows?
Like, remember that one guy?
And people like
that one guy who became a model. He had mugshot went viral. Remember that? And then he went to a model, right?
Yeah, he became a model after that.
Yeah,
he was a criminal.
Yeah,
and then he became a model.
Who are you talking about?
So there was a guy. He happened to be, I think, he's a mulatto, and he was like this really, like, he had those model eyes and he was stare, and apparently his mugshot went around, and it was like this gorgeous, like, apparently the women thought he was like this gorgeous mugshot, right? So he became viral, like this guy, and the minute he got out of prison, he became a model, and like he's a model now.
For Calvin Klein or somebody big.
Yeah.
So if you're Adnan, would you shave your beard and try to, up your...
I don't think so. I think that he came out, I'm hoping that's a sincere religious movement, right? I mean, everybody that goes to prison all of a sudden becomes.
I think what Tim is saying is that, like, he may have been forced to be religious in prison.
Well, yeah, because he
had nothing else to do.
You need to protect your butt, right, in prison. So you align with the Muslims.
I want to say something about these women who are so crazy about him. There was this movie I saw a long time ago. I can't remember the name for it for the life of it. I mean, it was this Latin dude, gangbanger, had gotten to jail a long time ago when he was really young. It wasn't really like he was kind of framed. It wasn't like a serious, those cases where like somebody got put in jail for like a little dime bag of weed like 20 years ago and they're still rotting there for 20 years. It was one of those cases. So this guy goes to jail and he became a gangster in jail. That's where he really became a gangster. Anyway, they let him out after like 20 years. One day it becomes like this big celebration. There's this girl who really wants him. So he gets with her. But the problem is that this dude's been in jail since he was a teenager, right? Like right around the same age as Adnan. The only thing he knows is one hole.
Oh.
So he has a problem even connecting with this woman because he keeps going for that, for that. Wow. And then ends up, he just hates life outside so much.
You went back in?
What about that two couple who were on the run? She was like a parole officer, or sorry, not parole officer, but she was a guard at the prison, and she helped some guy escape. She helped the guy escape because
she was in love. Yeah. But
they ran off, and then they both ended up getting killed. It was crazy. This was a few months ago, I want to say.
So I forgot about this, but I'll tell you. So I have some cousins that were locked up in prison. He knows who they are. I don't want to say right. So
what's your names?
For like years they've been locked up, right? For like some serious stuff, right? Aggravated battery, assault, murder, right? And the thing is, though, is that he would tell me when he got out finally, right, that there were women who like want to be pen pals. They literally try to find like people, like dudes that are locked up to write to and have a relationship with.
They are. That's like very common.
Yeah, like
I'll tell you a crazy story. I have a personal friend who was in prison for like 10 years. Right?
Yeah,
good friend of mine. this little stupid mistake and ended up in prison, just went down the wrong route. Comes out maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and he's telling me, he goes, dude, you know, all these women, like, you know, he was from our group of friends and, you know, whatever. So he's like, all these women are hitting me up and they want to hook up with me. I'm like, what, you're married? You know, I'm like, he's like, yeah, I know. And they all know. And I'm like, yeah, some of them are married. I'm like, holy crap, these are Muslim women from our community. Some of them are married to his friends, some are just married in general, but they started finding him and texting him and wanting to hook up with him just because, you know, I was like, what's the appeal? Like, you've been with a bunch of dudes for a while. What do you think's gonna happen when you come out? Like, what are they expecting from this guy?
Yeah,
you know. I mean, I just don't get it. What these women expect from these, you know.
Well, just imagine the father who he has to ask to handle. Yeah, you know, my last relationship.
What have you been doing the last 4 years? Like
no, my last relationship with the Heyman Lee, it didn't work out right. But your daughter, she'll be fine.
I don't think I'll have a problem. That tweet seemed like that chick that tweeted was putting him on. You know, was
yeah, but
was gonna go for it herself or something. Yeah, that's the thought that some people got.
Here's the worst part. Okay, like when they get into the relationship and then it doesn't, whatever kind of relationship it is, and it doesn't work out. Oh, men are pieces of crap. They're so bad. Oh, my God. It had nothing to do with the choice they made.
Yes. Yeah.
It had to do with the guy because all men are a certain way, right? Yeah. And it's just ironic to me. Like, what do you think was going to happen?
Right.
If the guy isn't even transitioned, I'm not saying criminals are bad. I'm saying you didn't need time to transition. Yeah. Just like you had your baggage from jumping from man to man, they had baggage from jumping from jail to jail, right? They need to fix it, figure it out. You see what I mean, right? That's tough, man.
Yeah.
You know, and there are people who are booty bandits in there, and they got to watch out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't understand it, but I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt and say maybe it might be this empathetic thing where they think he's a good guy that got framed or whatever. I hope it is. You know? But yeah.
Well, the jury's still out whether, you know, it's not 100% clear that he did not do it.
He memorized the whole Quran in there. Is that true?
That's what I heard. I'm not sure.
Somebody told me that's true.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. A lot of people made that, Sim, he couldn't memorize Quran. He could do that, but he could still be a murderer, you know?
And that was my whole thing, right? Like if she was religious now, alhamdulillah. Yeah. Good for him, right? But it doesn't alleviate things that he did in the past, meaning that Allah forgives him for this.
Yeah.
But if he did a crime, he got to pay the time, right? It just is what it is, right? It doesn't take away from that, right?
No.
And so there's crimes that we do against people that you pay for in this dunya, you have to be held accountable for. But I'm not saying Allah's going to hold him accountable. If maybe that's what needed to happen for him to turn to Allah. Maybe that's what needed to happen. Maybe Allah was giving him a wish. Maybe, you know. I don't know
how that fares well with Allah. Hey, you need to kill somebody to get to me.
No, what I mean
Finally, you're here.
No, what I mean is like maybe that whole trial of committing sin, feeling guilty, you know, being incarcerated, having a kind of seclusion, reflecting on your life. What are you doing, right? Yeah. Like because obviously.
It seems a lot. You know, there's a couple of things here that I want to point out. It seems like the Muslim chapels that go to these prisons did an amazing job. Number one, they brought this deen into the thing. It became so good that now that is like the crutch that every prisoner uses to get out. Almost, that's how I feel. Like, you know, I just the other day, you know, I mean, I love Mike Tyson, great boxer, one of my favorite boxers, right? It's Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, number 1 and 2, right there. Comes out, somebody sent me this whole thing about how he some quote about how he prays and like how he found this religion when he was in the thing. But you know, I mean, look Mike Tyson still, you know what I'm saying? He's still out there partying, doing his thing. Like, did it really change him? You know, did he really become Muslim? I don't know. You know, and if he did, great. He did. He was in prison.
Yeah.
But when he's out, how are they acting when they're out? And a lot of these people that go in there and find Islam in the prison, that's great. But when they get out, they're not the same. Yeah. You know, because now they have freedom. That was if I locked you in a cave, bro, and you're a Muslim, you had some iman and nothing else, you're gonna turn to God. But if you didn't have it, you probably wouldn't have turned to God unless somebody came and taught you, hey man, you know, Islam is the way to go, or whatever it is that those Muslim chapels did. I mean, it's great work that they're doing.
Well,
and I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, you know, they didn't learn the lesson, or you know, but.
You know, that's the thing. I mean, he found guys like Mike Tyson found their own relationship with Islam, and he still believes in Allah, and he's just still a Muslim. But you know, he's got his thing. You know, I'm not gonna with the kind of experiences he's had in life. I just stay away from like criticizing him, and you know, Mike Tyson.
Oh,
Mike Tyson.
I'm not criticizing him, but I'm just saying that. I'm just using him as an example, but everybody who goes to prison, like, you know, all these gangsters, gangbangers, all these guys you see now have turned to Islam in the pen.
Isn't that crazy though? This, you know, prison is like a microcosm of what the world is, right? If everyone's divided up across ethnic lines.
Yeah.
But then what did this say? Like when someone is joining prison and they don't have a group to join, they join the Muslims.
Yeah, the donations.
And they're like, they join the Muslims because the Muslims will accept you and they end up learning
and protect you, and probably and you have a group. I mean, it's a lot of research.
And you probably will, right?
I mean, it shows like why Islam obliterates all these other artificial tribal nationalism, any kind of other ideology, even like the Nazis and stuff that are in prison. Once you leave those groups, only the Muslims will take you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's crazy.
Speaking of that, though, don't forget, if you have someone in prison, there's a group called Tayba Institute, Rami and Nsour. They help people who are in
Chef
prison
Rami out of
and
California,
provide them books. Yeah, so they're really good. If you know someone needs help and needs to reach out, they do like a lot of prison work, mashallah, very good. They have a whole staff of people that were in prison and they're educated in prison. They came out as da'is and lecturers, and
that's awesome.
So very good stuff. But I saw a very funny comment. I generally don't use the comments, but my good friend Harris says women on Twitter are saying Rabia is imprisoning Adnan, now blocking all the other women.
I heard that. I answered it. Basically, she put him on reserve.
Bro, I would
She
be
said
so
thirsty.
upset.
That's what she wrote, thirsty on there, right?
What's wrong with her? Why, man?
Hey, what's wrong with her? Let her take the dude.
Huh?
Let her
Oh,
take
she
the
wants him, right?
I'm
Oh,
saying.
no, I think she's married. Though. She's
right?
married,
Yeah, I
but
think-
Oh, who's she married to?
Well, that doesn't really mean anything these days, but
Yeah.
I don't know she's married.
yeah,
I thought
she's
she was
married to
divorced.
some simp dude.
Oh yeah. Anyways, I don't want. Yeah, I think she's married, but gatekeeping is a big thing now, right? So,
I don't know.
because what happens if you don't gatekeep, right? Your whole brand, the whole thing of how you got famous, it doesn't really,
Yeah.
you're out of the picture, But I think there's something that more importantly, while we're happy about Adnan, I think there's a more important subject, and that's what's going on in the UK. I've been actually reaching out to people in the UK, and like I have a lot of friends that through the Dawah network, and it is pretty crazy. I don't know if you know actually how this kicked off. Do you guys know?
No, man,
Tim,
no.
are you aware of how this happened?
I have a really. That's the.
Tim, are you aware?
What?
Do you know the story of why this is happening?
No.
Okay, so first of all, let me just start out by saying this. Okay, they're trying to frame it like it's a cricket match thing. It started with a cricket match.
Oh, India versus Pakistan.
Yeah, but it is not. It's not that. Realize when I explain why. So first of all, before this has been happening randomly, there have been random attacks on Muslim people in the community before this alleged cricket match, right? Where it's not just like one just beating them up, like 20, 30 guys who are Hindutva radicals were stabbing
terrorists.
And exactly. So people need to understand that when we talk about, and I feel bad that we have to mention this, and people should know this now. Hindutva is not the same as Hindu. Right? There are Hindus that don't like Hindutva, right? There are Hindus that are being oppressed by Hindutva. Hindutva is the RSS party that was originally banned because they were the ones that were responsible for assassinating Gandhi. They were very radicalized Hindus who did not want anybody other than Hindus to be in India, especially when India was forming as a so-called democratic nation. They did not want anyone. They wanted the Hindu majority to be dominant over the culture, the laws, everything. And that extremism led to them assassinating Gandhi and threatening other figures like Indira Gandhi and many other people. And so they were effectively banned. The Hindutva party came back under the RSS, under people like Modi, BJP, who were responsible for the Gujarat riots, right? Basically referring to Muslims that were run over like dogs, right? Like,
burnt.
Yeah,
Not
right.
burnt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this is now that Modi has power in India, it's a major political force, meaning that and they use, to be fair, there are people who may not have the same views, but they're using political schemes and like economic schemes to bring people on board and say, BJP is great, right? But they've emboldened a lot of people in this process, especially with revoking some of the Article 16, I think, from Kashmir, whatever the article number is, but basically trying to assert their dominance over territories by turning a blind eye to violence against Muslims, against Sikhs, against Christians, against other lower caste Hindus. And so these parties, and the sad thing is that a lot of his party was funded by people who espouse these views outside the country. For example, right here in Illinois, you have people a community here that's been actively protesting against a masjid opening in Naperville that are his supporters, right? And a congressman that is his supporter, right? And they show one face in the community, but back home, they're supporting terrorist groups. And this happens also in London.
Right.
London tends to be a place where there's a younger community for them. And so these people decided they want to flex their muscles around and show Hindutva pride. You know, this Jai Hind stuff, whatever the version of Allahu Akbar is, right? They're walking around. And so these people were now trying to say, oh, it's time to deal with the Muslim problem, right? And so they brought that idea to the UK as well. And you know, the UK is heavily Asian. There's lots of Pakistanis, Bengalis, aside from Asian, many Muslims, and also the Indian population as well. Sikhs, Hindus, Jain, whatever you have. So the radical element among them are trying to provoke this war because they try to get away with freedom of speech and try to essentially bring that here. And then it escalated into them running out with gang members and like stabbing and attacking Muslims. Then there was an alleged supposed cricket match, but that had nothing to do with it. They were doing it already. And the reason why I tell you that it has nothing to do with the cricket match is because what happened recently was in Leicester, which is where Green Lane Mosque is, or Masjid. That population, like Birmingham is predominantly Pakistani.
Okay.
Leicester and in that Green Lane area is predominantly Indian Gujarati Muslim.
Okay.
So if this was about a cricket match, why is an Indian attacking an Indian Muslim? Mm-hmm. Right? You're going to be fighting a Pakistani. Right? It has nothing to do with cricket.
Yeah.
So they intentionally went with like now hundreds of Hindutva people, and they were marching in the street with fully masked, intimidating store owners, old women, people
I saw
outside.
Cops in those parades. They didn't stop them?
So I'll get to that. So they it was randomly unprovoked. They came there.
Yeah.
And by the way, they were armed with like cricket bats and things like this, which is clearly against British law. If you're in a group walking, you can't be armed like that. You can't do this. And they were attacking store owners, screaming stuff about Muslims and whatever, and their own chants. The cops were there. They were called. And by the way, the cops have been telling the community that we're dealing with this. We've made progress. They've met with community leaders, but obviously it's gotten progressively worse, right? This was the worst yet when you have hundreds of these guys walking around. So the cops came again, and it was just futile. Trying to direct traffic, you can see them walking back and forth. They can't stop them. The Muslim guys are telling them, look, these guys are walking around with cricket bats. He's inciting violence. Like, you see a weapon in his hand right now. You can't do that, right? And so they got frustrated. And by the evening time, the Muslims just came out. Like Pakistanis came out from London, from Birmingham, they came all over. Like they should.
They should.
Right? I mean, if they want to show presence, we can show even more presence, right? Because we're not just Asians, right? We're Somalis, we're Bengali, Arabs, whatever. We're Bosnians, everybody.
Yeah.
And so if you want to light that fire, we can burn the whole goddamn house down, right? And that's just how the attitude should be.
It should be, 100%.
And so when it's funny that when that came over there, the police then started saying, oh, go disperse, right? And then like they were, you know, and then, but it's interesting that the Hindutva got quiet, right? But they're not. But the problem is that it took it to come to this level where the cops were turning a blind eye. If that had been a Muslim community doing something like this, right? It would have been all over the news.
Of course.
It would have been a breaking news. It would have been cop military presence, right? And the problem is the action that was shown by law enforcement was basically nothing.
Yeah.
They were just watching it to making sure. Like, at what point do you think you have to get involved? When you physically see somebody get stabbed or a woman get hit? Like, at what point do you stop and intervene?
Well, it looks like they got involved when we showed up.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. When the Muslims came in, then it's like, okay, barricade, stop this, stop that, right? And I'm not saying that, you know, I implore the Pakistanis and the Muslims there to use wisdom in how you do things, right? Because you don't want it to turn back on you and because the media does, this is a chess game. Yeah. You know the media is just waiting for you to do something so they can focus on your story. So be wise about it.
Not just that, a lot of these mobs, they usually end up attacking women when they're, when you're not around. Yeah. You can act tough all you want. I mean, and I think we should. I think as Muslims, they should come out in strength and show their strength as well. But it's important to also recognize that you don't let your women folk out and children out alone at night, or just leave them alone walking.
I have a strong view on this, and I'll push it out over here because it's not Janwaar, so I don't care. So anything you want. Are we allowed to swear here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I have a huge problem with the Muslims in general looking towards non-Muslims for help. This is one of my biggest things. Like I despise protests. I think if you're a protest, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
Don't protest. You got a problem? Well, Muslims don't protest. I want you to find me somewhere historically where the Prophet and the Sahaba protested a problem. I want that proof. Where did they when did they sign a petition and send it to some Hindu or some non-Muslim person and said, hey, I need your help.
Yeah.
Please look, here's a million signatures. Go stop somebody in Palestine. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you such a little bitch? Why? Since when have we, the most powerful people in the world, you know when the tides have turned is because we've become weak, right?
Yeah.
We're weak physically, and it's one of the things that Janwaar always pushes. Physical and people, oh no, we have to be strong mentally. Really, dude? If you're really strong mentally, what are you gonna do if I pounce on your face? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when the Hindutva guys come over there and just rape your whole house? Your medical degree is gonna stop them? Are you intellectually gonna tell them, hey, I'm gonna stop you? You can't.
Yeah.
The problem is, in this situation in UK, I just don't think the Muslims should have showed up. I think they should have showed up pretty quickly, and they should have smashed those Hindus. And who cares what the media says? Who cares? I'm tired of that.
Yeah.
How many people? I mean, everybody. In today's world, people are having these ridiculous beliefs. We have an amazing belief. We have the best.
Proud of it.
We have the truth. We're on the truth, right? Screw social media, screw what people think about it, screw it. If there are Hindutva guys walking around in Chicago, I would be the first one out there smashing skulls.
Yeah.
Bro, it used to happen. Remember on Devon? We wouldn't wait a minute, a second,
Why
bro.
would I?
Yeah.
Forget the media, forget being canceled, forget my name, forget everything else. And these people are going to come and just attack us for being Muslims. This is the problem.
Bro, I remember in high school, bro, there would be Muslim who even look at a Hindu look at a Muslim girl. It was on, bro.
Yeah.
And I mean, Shaykh, I remember went to the high school. They went to the same high school.
Yeah.
We had them in check.
Yeah.
Like, if you look the wrong way, bro, it was on.
Yeah.
Like, Jignis, Mignis, Pajib, Majid, I don't care what your name is, bro. If you look the wrong way, it was on.
We can't let this stuff slide.
Yeah,
I know,
don't.
there's going to be all these people with intellectual comments and, oh, no, we have to do this. No, we don't.
Yeah.
Really don't.
Yeah. And I think, look, there's a time, with all due respect, there's a time for wisdom. There's a time where you should be intellectually strong as well, too. But there's a time for assert your dominance. Right. This is part of being a man. That's why you have testosterone, because if you don't use it for good, then bad happens.
Right.
No, it's the law of nature.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a nature.
If they had written something against us, then I would never have said go and smash their head. I'd say write something against them.
Yeah.
Right. If they post something against you, fine, post something against them. Right. But if they're in your streets,
In your faith.
and they're walking in your neighborhood, and they're yelling at your religion, they're purposely disrespecting us, and why should we stop? Why do we say, even these Naperville bastards out here that stopped this budget thing? What kind of cowardly crap is that?
I told my cousin on the board in Naples, right? I'm like, you know what we should do? We should hold a large beef barbecue, bro,
Hell
and
yeah,
let
we
everyone, let the Christians, everyone else come in and eat with us, and see how great we are, and let's see what they protest now.
We should,
right?
Just to give the listeners, we're international, so we have a mosque nearby or a city nearby named Naperville, where many of the Muslims were trying to build a mosque, and the main detractors or the people who were pushing back against getting the approvals from the local government were the Hindus, and they started creating a campaign against the mosque being built.
Hey,
and they weren't even local.
This is because the Muslims are so weak. Yeah. They think they can. We're weak politically. Fine, we're weak. You know how we want to be smart and have all this money. We're weak because when we get smart and we get money, we don't use it for this stuff.
No,
we buy Lamborghinis and $1 million mansions, and that's what we do.
You get further from the community,
and you move away from Islam and you become more like a non-Muslim. That's what normally happens, right? Yeah. And if you do have money, I mean, you donate to the local mosque or whatever, but we're not putting our money into these things, right? I mean, I remember even I was talking to Mufti Kamai like 5 years ago, and he was like this huge thing about SEO, the search thing, optimizing search on Google. Right?
Okay,
who
SEO.
comes up? Yeah, SEO. Who comes up first? All that. I mean, we don't spend money on any of these things. Any of these channels, we're not spending money on, right? And then we expect some kind of protection from where, right? I mean, so.
No, I agree with the sentiment that Muslims should display strength at all times.
Yeah, we should.
Like,
here's the problem.
We bend
over backwards, bro. I'll give you an example. There was a masjid in the north side that the Jewish community of that masjid started having a lot of problems with this masjid when they first opened up. MEC way back in the day. I don't know if you remember. They were putting pigs in their front yards. The neighbors.
Who was doing that?
The neighbors.
Oh, okay.
They didn't want MEC to be there. They had all these problems. They were trying to shut it down. This was way back in the day, and they would even put pigs in front of their in their yards. Retards. MEC won, took the case to court. Whatever these guys wanted, they went to court. They won. We beat them fair, like we killed them. Right? They had no standing whatsoever. But MEC still had the audacity. It's just like that weak mentality, right?
Yeah.
Even if you win,
Gandhi mentality.
Yeah, they want exactly. I hate Gandhi, right? They have that Gandhi mentality. Gandhi's a piece of shit, to be honest.
No, he is.
Yeah.
No, people. Well, let me just say that. The reason why I want to say this is because people don't realize. They're trying to make him like this person of like peace, whatever. Yeah. Just Google what he was saying in South Africa about black people, right? And see if he was really someone who wanted peace. Look, it was in his favor because he knew that there was gonna be some there was some benefit to him doing that, right? It wasn't. He couldn't fight them. That's the bottom line. But I think forget about all these things. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, Muslims have to realize that you need to be spiritually stronger, physically stronger, financially stronger, and mentally stronger. Yeah. That's all. The believer is strong. Yeah. It's not just strong in strength. I mean, that's a great thing to have. But you could be jacked up and built too. But if you can't fight, you ain't worth it.
Right.
When
they're on top, they have this weird like habit, especially in our communities. They get on top, they win everything, then they turn around, they bend over and say, hey, you know what, even though we're on top, we're going to bend over backwards for you guys. And the MEC had restricted hours on us. Oh, you can't be at the gym after 10 o'clock. Don't make noise outside. If it was the other way around and the Jews had won, there would be a carnival every single goddamn day.
Do you know what's crazy to me? You know what's crazy to me? Okay, so since by the way, guys, we're talking about our local massages, so I'll try to give you some context. So I think a lot of this changed post 9/11, right?
Yeah.
Pre 9/11, I could say about Islamic Foundation, with it, probably one of the oldest mosques here in the Chicagoland area, it's in Villa Park, one of the oldest properties. But if Sim, you remember when we were younger, they did not want it. It was an old school. It got converted into a masjid. We used to pray in the gymnasium. But every night or every other night, we'd have people come by and break windows and shoot guns to the window. Yeah, right. And I remember back then, my dad and other people, we would jump in the a little Nissan stand down, be running through the back parking lot, in the grass, trying to chase down people. But I'm like, hit him. And I'm like, sticks, and that was the thing, like the mentality that, you got to push back.
Yeah.
Right. And I think post 9/11, they got intimidated by the government to say that you can't even stand up for yourself anymore, because if you do, you're afraid of a label. Yeah. And I think, to be honest, if you're living in today's time where Proud Boy can walk around and claim they're going to beat people up, right? And that kind of stuff, and they can get away with that kind of stuff, right? Look, man, at some point, you got to eat one for the team. Yeah. Right? It is what it is, right? It's part of being a man, because at a certain time, enough is enough. I'm not saying it has to be like this way in every situation, but when it escalates to the point where they're threatening the safety of your children and your wives and your women and your weak and your elderly, there's a line.
Yeah, and let's not wait till that long, man. We've done that too much, right? I'm not saying take the offensive, but we don't have to go. I'm not going to wait that long. You don't have to wait that long.
A lot of people will say that, well, you may win a few fights in the UK, the majority of your brothers back home in India will suffer the consequences.
Where are our Muslim brothers in India, bro? Fight till you die.
I don't know
why.
I think it's easier said than done, right? I mean, realistically, right? Because then they're like, oh, what happens to our women who get left behind, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so they get, But I think the reality is that here's the thing, Sim. Regardless of what you do in England, they're doing it in India anyway. Yeah. The reason why they're coming to England to do it here because it's happening in India. Yeah. It doesn't really matter what you're doing in the UK, right? You know what I mean?
And you know what? If that's the case, we just keep smashing them in other countries. You want to keep smashing India? We'll keep smashing you here.
Yeah, honestly, bro, I feel like this. I think and that's why I appreciate the Gulf for start kicking out, because a lot of these Indians will get the audacity. Let me not say Indians. Some of these Hindutva people. Yeah. Okay, let me rephrase it, because not all Indians are this way. I've met some very good Hindus, very good, other Sikh people, very good people. Yeah. Some of these radical Hindutva people, they had the audacity, Sim, to go on and work in the Khalij countries and Gulf countries, yes sir, no sir, whatever, and then on Twitter they'd be posting all this stuff about Islam and Aisha, and they get caught. And then there were people started reporting them, and they were getting deported. And now they started changing their countries of where they're located in their biographies, but. They were so cowardly that they were eating from the hand and biting the hand that feeds them. Yeah, they're worshiping these Arabs and the Muslims that are there, getting paid their salary, and then come online like cowards and attack. And I think that, the Gulf countries should say, listen, if you have any tie to Hindutva, we have to make sure you renounce Hindutva before you come in this country, otherwise we're kicking you out.
Yeah.
Just force it on them. Like, I mean, if they want to play that game, then I say we respond with equal force.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else we got?
What's in the title? I didn't see what's the title.
That was it.
Hindutva and Adnan.
Huh?
Hindutva and Adnan.
Yeah, that was the title. Yeah, I mean, look, so maybe we can transition a little bit. So Hindutva is just one issue, right? But I think in general, I think it's a good topic to talk about how Muslims need to be proud of who they are and take pride in that and display that in their action, right?
Yeah.
Like the days of, I understand, you know what, you got to pass post 9/11, right? The first 10 years maybe, okay? The Patriot Act, you were unsure what's going to happen. Everybody was in fear. But now you know what it is, right? Now you know what they can and can't do, what they won't and what they will do, right? There's nothing wrong with showing your Islam outwardly, wearing it on your sleeve, and being very principled about it. What I found is that people are more respectful of people that are principled than unprincipled.
Hell yeah, I agree 100%.
And they may not like you,
Yeah.
but they will respect you.
Yep.
And that's all we need. We don't need them to like us.
Yeah.
I don't need you to break bed with me on Sunday. I don't need you to come invite me to an interfaith. I don't need any of that nonsense. I need you to respect me and not say things about me that's going to set me off because you know that you respect me enough not to do that.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat named Nsour is saying, "Fight till the death?" Question mark. Really, really amazing to say from the comfort of the States. Shaking my head. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease the situation and grant us all victory. So
That's just a bitch living somewhere where you can't fight. That's all it is. Get out there, dog. What are you scared of? It's comfortable here, but if I was there, I'd whoop your ass too. Where you at? Come over here to this comfortable chair.
So I know we had some relatives.
that's a really easy thing that many people say, oh, like the comfort of the States. Like many of us are not in comfort. There's a few people who are living comfortably. Like not every one of us is living
So
comfortably.
to be fair, I think what they're saying is that there's a functioning police system, a civil system here where there's no repercussions necessarily. I mean, you know, mob violence, whatever. And look, that may be a fair point, but does that change what you have to do?
Yeah.
Fine. So you know what? Say I'm a coward. Okay? Say I'm a coward. Does that make what we're doing, does it make the advice wrong? Just because I don't say, the advice can be right and I could be wrong. I could be a coward, I could be a hypocrite, whatever. It doesn't change the advice.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to meet violence with violence.
Yeah.
Right? So, granted, if you want to call me a coward, no problem.
Yeah.
I'll be a coward. You can judge me whatever you want.
I know the dude who made that comment. Definitely a comment.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I mean,
Oh my
but-
God, shaking my head. Allah save us. What do you mean? Well, get up and do something, bro.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
I
save
mean,
you.
look. Here's the thing. What did we learn from the Battle of Badr?
Yeah.
Right? It's not you who wins the fight. You just have to do what you can do. Allah wins the victory.
The thing is, you got to show up, man.
Yeah, you got to show up.
Here's the thing: you have to have enough iman, enough belief to show up. That's a problem. We don't have it. You know, a lot of people. It comes across for anything. Our money, the way we spend money, the way we make money. If we have true iman, we're not worried about these things, right?
Yeah.
As long as we're on the huck, we're gonna go forward with it. Whether you lose money, whether you lose life, whether you lose what happens now? We have we put that cushion in front of us. Hey, we're good up until this point. If it starts getting even a little bit uncomfortable, I'm gonna back off.
Yeah.
If it gets a little bit painful, I'm gonna back off. If they come after my money, I'm gonna back off. If they come after my name, I'm gonna back off. Right?
These same people are. It's not just like they're getting us about the comfort of living in the States. They also criticize the Palestinians for throwing rocks at soldiers. Like, oh, well, what did that serve? You ended up getting 100 people killed because of you throwing rocks. Well. They're gonna. How do you know they weren't gonna kill more?
They're still killing.
They're still killing.
They're gonna kill you regardless.
They'll find excuses. They kill people when they're holding cameras.
They kill journalists. Bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right. I mean, again, of course, we're speaking about this issue passionately, but there are also you have to implore wisdom on how you do it. We're not discrediting that, right? Like we don't want you to cause, at the least, we don't want you to do things, that would cause more harm to your community. If you can do it in a way that minimizes that risk, great.
Yeah.
But something has to be done. Right? You can't be idle. Is the point?
I mean, we're not eliciting violence. We're not saying go out and look for it. The topic came up that there's 100, these terrorists walking into your streets and terrorizing and trying to. These guys try to grab a woman and kidnap her into a van. Luckily, she got away. Another one, they hit. They actually did. There's incidents in UK that happened, and yes, there are incidents in India that are happening. And my point is, if you look at some of these videos, you look at some of these violence. These Indian Muslim guys are just sitting there getting their butt kicked. No one's putting their hands up. No one's fighting back. No one's coming and helping them. Why is one guy getting his butt kicked by a mob of Hindus? Where are the rest of the neighbors? Where are the friends? Where are the Muslims? Because they're cowards. They want to go and hide and be like, well, it's not us. We're not going to get in trouble. Why should we get hit? Our friends getting hit, we're not going to get hit. Let's just save our skin, appease them and let them go on. That's the mentality that the Muslims have today.
And
right?
this is the part of a bigger issue too. We call it rajula and fatwa. Like being a man means you stop injustice.
Yeah.
Right. Fatwa, she will be like, actually, if you see a woman, you say, hey, stop that.
Yeah.
It's our job to make sure. Like you have to say. They say. If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
I said, you see something, do something, right?
In this extreme, especially in these extreme cases.
Of course.
We're not talking
Absolutely.
about a daily basis. On a daily basis, everyone's a coward. No one wants to do anything or say anything or even get in anyone's way. I get it. You don't want to take on the headache. It's a pain. You just want to do your thing and live your life. That's how I am about most of the things. But when it comes to something this big,
it's close, right? I mean, like, because that could be your sister, your mother, your uncle, your father, right? And then what happens? Then you get raised.
Yeah. It could happen here.
Right.
Why can't it? If it can happen in the UK, dude, whoever wrote this comment, it could happen here. And if it happens here...
Chapel Hill, right?
Yeah, it could happen anywhere.
Look, I'll be honest. Post 9/11, right? We had armed people at the masjid, right? Because we knew something could pop off, right? And alhamdulillah for guns, right? I say, hey, and that's another thing too. If you got the means, train, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your Second Amendment right. Get a gun. There's no reason why any single Muslim man who in your area, if you can get one, you shouldn't have a gun.
Yeah.
And you should be trained on how to use it, right? This is something that's mind-boggling to me, right? Bro, they're literally giving you rights to defend yourself, and you're choosing not to take it.
And Islamically, we're supposed to learn how to shoot, use weaponry, which is the archery at that time. Today is the gun or the sword, whatever it is. It's a gun today. Well, it's all been replaced, right? You have your swimming, you have your horseback riding. Those are your physical training, right? I mean, all that stuff was to get you in condition, to get you trained, and to be able to fight.
And it puts you in the mindset that, hey, I can't be pushed around, I can't be bullied around. I know how to defend myself.
And I'm going to say what I always say to all these Muslims who are probably thinking like, oh, why violence? Why not something else? If it was in our deen that absolutely no, we can't fight for ourselves. We should only, fight. I don't know why they call it civilized.
Pacifism, right?
Write something or do something. I have to ask, why wasn't the prophet some amazing, writer and politician? He wasn't. He didn't even know how to use a pen. Yet he knew how to wield a sword. If the pen was truly mightier than the sword, you don't think that Allah would have made sure that the prophet knew how to use his pen? If that was truly the case, that the pen was mightier than the sword, and the pen would have done more damage and spread the word even further, then the prophet would have known how to write with the.
That's a great point.
And it was a prophet who discovered the pen, by the way, right? Yeah. Who discovered the pen? It was a prophet. I forgot who it was. Idris, I think it was Islam. I can't remember who it was. But it was a prophet who discovered the pen. So it's not like it was far-fetched from Islam for the prophet to be. No, there were other prophets who were literate before, right? This prophet was not,
right?
And for a reason.
I always say might is right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's how. The very civilization you have today is because of the might, right?
When was the first time the Muslims prayed in public? When Umar radiallahu anhu became Muslim.
Yeah. Right. And now imagine, and that's a great story because imagine him.
Okay. Can you say that? We got to run to a break real quick.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
This episode is brought to you by Mecca Books, your source for traditional Islamic knowledge. It's where seekers of knowledge go to buy their books. Go directly to Mecca Books because they have a massive catalog that covers just about every topic from fiqh, aqidah, hadith, tasawwuf, and everything else in between. You can go to meccabooks.com/TMM and use the code TMM for a 10% discount.
All right, and we're back. So you were saying shit.
And I was just gonna mention at one point about Umar radiallahu anh. Like he was begging Rasulullah to go out and say, I want to proclaim this. I want to proclaim this. Why should we hide? Are we not on the truth? Even at Hudaybiyah. Actually, this is a great interesting point because a lot of times people, they always talk about Hudaybiyah. Like they talk about, oh, look, it didn't fight, but I always say this, there's such an interesting reference point. The default position was to go and fight. That Umar radiallahu anh got so upset. Like, are we not on the truth? Are we not on the haqq? Can we not go and, isn't Allah going to support us? And it literally took the Prophet ﷺ, he was visibly frustrated where he had to slap his thigh and say, this was not my decision. I mean, Amr Allah, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ordered this. There's wisdom in what Allah said. Yep. But even he had to show restraint because at that particular moment, Allah did not will that to happen. But the default position was you go and you defend yourself.
Yeah.
That's the default.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the whole idea of the raids and all these things, right? This idea was to show that you can't just take what's ours. You can't just don't tread on me. That was the original don't tread on me.
Yeah.
Right? The idea that you can, your belongings, your wealth, your blood, your family, your property, all that is sacred to you.
Yeah.
No one, not even to the point where a kafir has that sanctity under Islam. A Muslim can't just come and take that because that's how serious it is. He's justified in killing you for taking that, for messing with that, right? And I think that's basic appeals to humanness. That's one of the reasons why I'll say Christianity doesn't make sense to me. I can't turn my other cheek. It's like saying if I have one daughter, give the other daughter. What are you talking about, bro? Right? I mean, it's natural for a human to want to defend these things, right? And I feel like we've gotten away from this shuja'a and from this futuwa, that the problem is that we say, oh, intellectually, let's logically break it down and say, well, what's the repercussion of this and that? It's beyond that. It's more simple than that. Yeah. It's carnal. This is you're a man.
Yeah.
Right? And I think at some point, once you show that you have a force, then you can come to the table and say, now you understand.
Yeah.
Right? Now you know what. Now let's talk.
These are the principles of power.
Yeah.
And what's more evident right now is at least what we saw with the Queen's passing.
Yeah.
Did you see all these colonized Muslims? These coconuts? They're just all crying over the Queen. There's even an imam at the Queen's procession.
Crazy,
it is embarrassing.
Like, yeah, would you see by any chance?
No, I think they have their own version. They got their own version. There was like a mosque in the UK. There was like if anyone knows the Regent's Park Mosque in the UK in America, even
Regent Park, I think.
Regent Park Mosque. They renamed it to something else, but back in the day we all knew it as Regent's Park Mosque, and that was a place that even American Muslims knew about, and apparently they recited or they sang the "God Save the Queen" type in the national anthem or whatever. Yeah,
so I'm gonna call my British people today, bro. Listen, you have little girls saying, "I think the Queen was a wonderful lady." Like, I mean, all these things, bro. Hey, there's something wrong there, bro. Like, I don't think
they not know what the British.
You didn't find Muslims praising Bush when he died, right? Yeah, like, you didn't find that with George Bush. So what I'm saying is, I'm just taking a jab here. Don't get all. Don't get your panties in the bunch of UK Muslims. Just relax. We just
but they probably have not.
We know we're much worse than you guys are.
Yes. Well,
we're just having some fun.
I think it depends what part, right? But here's the thing. Here's the bottom line, okay? I think it comes down to the point that he mentioned, which is the important one, right? Is that the colonial mindset that we have to, before we take a step, we have to make sure that mentally that we've got the clear from the colonizer. That it doesn't suit their way of their expectation of how we respond.
Yeah.
Right? And like, if we do too much, they might say this about us.
Yeah.
Or they may label us this. Or they may take something away from us. Yeah. Who the hell gave them authority to do that to you? You have your own agency. You are a Muslim. Your authority is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. Your power, the one that can control all that in front of you is Allah. You can say what you want to say, you can do. And I'm not saying be reckless with it. But what I'm saying at the time, there's a time to where there's a red line.
Yeah.
And that red line, there's no negotiating at that time.
Right.
Right? There's no saying, let's talk about it at that moment.
There's times to tolerate. There's time to act.
Right.
There's times to talk. I mean, there's time for everything. Right. And we are way past these times now in today's age and day with the stuff that's happening across the world, stuff that's happening here. We're way past that, And now it's that we're just taking into that position of being the, just taking it all the time, right? Just being at the bottom of the totem pole, just taking all the crap from everyone. And to your point, is because of this weakness that we've showed across the world. We're not going to do anything. We've become those Christians. You slap us on this side, then we'll give you the other cheek. Go ahead and slap us on that. And even in America, Muslims do that all the time. And we appease the non-Muslims left and right, the way we talk, the way we dress, the way we behave in front of them. I mean, it's just it's everywhere, dude. It's everywhere.
I was just thinking about this. I don't want people to get just pick up the wrong point. We're not against interfaith or talking to people, but that's for dawah.
Yeah.
Dawah is different than defending yourself, right? You don't mix dawah with defending yourself and what we say jihad is.
Yeah, we're talking about specific non-Muslims who rally around, create groups, are intimidating or trying to
specifically talking about these riots that happen in
right. Yeah. And the reality is that like dawah, there's never you say, okay, I've done enough dawah and then now I'm doing this. Dawah is always going to happen.
Yeah,
right? This is continual, right? But this is a specific situation where people are being threatened. Your community is being threatened. Words don't help in that case.
Yeah.
Right? If a robber came into your house, You're not gonna say, "Wait a minute, let's talk it out, buddy. I love you. You love me. You know, we have the same God." No one's gonna say that, bro.
No.
You know, he's gonna pop you in the face. Either you get him or he gets you. You know, that's how it is, right? So there's a time and place for everything.
Right.
And so I'm saying, don't be to the point where you sacrifice your izzah because you're conflating cowardness with pragmatism.
Yeah.
Right? Pragmatism and cowardice are two entirely different things. There may be a fine line between them, but you have to know in your heart whether you're just doing it because you're afraid and you're a coward versus when you're trying to be wise and pragmatic.
Right.
And I think that's the key line here.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any questions in the chat?
I didn't see any questions in the chat.
Shaq, on the part-time, you could do some marriage counseling or relationship advice. I heard you're pretty good at that.
Why would you say that?
I don't know. I heard
The motivational speaker or something like a Coach Janwaar.
Look at you in gym, bro. Man. I think we'll go ahead and wrap this puppy up. Help us out on patreon.com/the make sure you click on the old like button, hit subscribe, and comment in the comment section below with your outrage related to this show. Hopefully you're not a dayooth.
Yeah, tell us if we're wrong. You know, if you think we're wrong, tell us why. We could talk about it in the next show, but we want to know because it's an important point, right? I mean, if you feel like I'd be surprised if I got pushback for this, but if there's a pushback, I'd like to address that because I want to know why you think that way.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not opposed to having a discussion about this, meaning that I'm not going to just write somebody off because of a dumb comment. I'd like to see where your mind's at because that mindset is not just you. It's a lot of Muslims.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to fix that.
Yeah. It's funny because as you're saying that, I'm trying to think of Muslims. It's usually the Muslims who are fighting the Muslims. You know, Muslims are the biggest enemies of the Muslims. That's what I've realized.
They get big and bad when they're fighting each other, right?
They get big and bad. You know, and I always see this, and you know, one of the reasons, and I know we're pretty much done, but. Yeah. And to your point, when you have the power, you come to the table, big difference. I've been in this situation many times. I used to be scrawny, I used to be small. I got my butt kicked a couple of times. Nobody wanted to talk to me, man. They just jumped me and they left. You know what I'm saying? This size now, they're gonna think twice, right? And they're gonna talk to me. If I come to and sit at the table anywhere, even if I go to an interview, people are listening. Yeah. I don't know. It's not because they're scared of me or whatever, but like, something's different here. This guy's got some power. If he wants to use it, he's going to use it when he wants
it. Builds character, but I mean, honestly,
it gives me a step.
It emanates from you, right? Yeah. I mean, people. It's not just about how you look, but taking care of yourself, having that mentality, it radiates from a person.
I love being big because I love the way people have to talk to me. I'm just gonna be honest with you. People step up very correct. I mean, I could say the dumbest. I could be completely wrong. I could be, some idiot. But whether I'm in the masjid, whether I'm outside, wherever I am, people step correct. And I noticed that Muslims, when it comes to other Muslims, they don't. They talk. They really attack the other Muslims. Reckless. And then if it's the same thing with another, a white person or a non-Muslim person. Oh, they're all of a sudden the mouse. They're quiet. They're scared. Out of their minds. They poop their pants. But they come to masjid, and I'll tell you, one thing is, it really pisses me off when people make commotion in the masjid. I feel like they're doing it just because they feel they're safe.
That's so true, man.
And those are the people that I would.
You just brought something that you know what a classic telltale of this is. Look at how they park in the masjid. Yeah. They're terrified of one white lady telling them they parked the wrong way outside the public. They won't do it.
Yeah.
But they'll come to most like they own it.
Yeah.
They come in because they know that they're not gonna fight each other.
Yeah. Well, no, they think that they could. They think they can say whatever they want to us. They can fight with us. I mean, and that's the reality. If we the pushback won't be because there's some intellectual or some logical discussion to have. It's just going to be because they feel like we're Muslim. We said something stupid. They're just going to come after us, and that's not the case. I mean, we're trying. We're sticking up for the Muslims. We're saying, hey, everybody get strong. Everybody get on this thing. And be one, united, and fight. Not everyone's going to be able to hit the floor and fight. Some people have to do other things in the background. Some people can take care of our media. Some people can take care of our finances. Some people can take care of whatever it is. But it's always Muslims that are hitting on the Muslims and bringing the Muslims down.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that.
Crabs in a bucket. We all say that. Crabs in a bucket, bro.
Yeah.
Someone has a question. Could we apply the same understanding might is right with the issue of Palestine and Kashmir? And my opinion on that is absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
If all the Muslim countries got together and showed might is right, there would be no issue with Palestine and Kashmir.
What are they going to do?
Yeah, there would be no issue with it. And that was the whole... And this is what Sim always goes back to. It's more than just... See, I think people are laser focused on the issue of reacting to what's happening. what this ties into is having a central government body of the Muslims that protects you, that legislates over you, and that handles these issues.
Yeah.
The bottom, I hate to be redundant, but it's the fact. The Khilafah is the reason why these things happen, right? Meaning, if it was there, this problem wouldn't be there because a caliphate would send its army, its force, and presence.
I mean, look at it. Where Palestine is placed, right? Right around all these Muslim countries who are the same as all the Muslims that we're talking about today, right? Just self-involved, kissing the white man's ass or the colonist's ass, and just kind of like, you know, doing their thing to protect. They don't care about the Muslims. They don't care about the larger thing, man. They just it's self-involved. They don't have deen, you know.
Why did the Arabs lose the 67 war against Israel? They were They had a stronger army, bro. They had far superior resources and weaponry to Israel, and they got their asses handed to them because they were fighting under the flags of nationalism. They're not fighting under Islam.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that, because Allah will give you the victory even if you're 10 times. Well, I can't remember what the actual ratio is. Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I think it's like 200 of you or something like that. But the point being is that traditionally, what Simmons I think is getting at is that traditionally Muslims in all the major victorious battles, we've been minority constantly.
Yeah.
Whether it's against Byzantine, Persia, anywhere, whether it was opening of a Sham, the Muslims, the army would tend to be, they were smaller in number.
Yeah, I love Khalid bin Walid's stories.
Yeah. I mean, so many.
Stories,
People like Osama bin Zayd, many people who just went out and there was,
but they were fast up, man.
Yeah. Even the Murabitun, even like in North Africa, even these areas, right? How they opened Tariq bin Ziyad going to Spain, and like, I mean, they were a minority.
Yeah.
Right? They never had this massive fort, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't that. I mean, imagine the Ottomans went to the heart of Constantinople, where a fortified city. Right? It wasn't like they had all this great equipment around them and all the resources around them to spend days fighting. Yeah. No, but when Allah, if the sincerity is there and Allah wills, you will have victory even if you don't have a sword in your hand.
The biggest issue with the you know, all those amazing stories, we hear all these things, we're like, man, how was Islam so amazing back then? And how is it now that we can never replicate that again? We've lost the emotional connection with Islam. There's no love for God. There's no love for deen. This is all intellectual talk that we have today, right? Although the scholars that talk, they talk from an intellectual, a learned, academic perspective. They're not instilling. When I go to the masjid and I hear a Shaykh, I get great information. I don't feel love for the deen. I don't walk out feeling love for the Prophet. I don't walk out feeling this pride. What does nationalism do? Nationalism, there's no
charges you
there.
up, right? Yeah.
There's no academia there, right? There's nothing there. What is it there? They build this charge of love, some kind of love or something, some ideology to fight for.
Do you know what the great thing is? The great point, you know why? Because the way people always talk about America, you guys are even American Muslims are so patriotic and so this. Do you know why that is? Because the whole idea is, I'll sum it up in one word. It is exceptionalism. Even though there may not be. Americans are not bad at very many things, but we always think that we're the best at whatever we do, right? And that exceptionalism makes them say, okay, I'm proud to be this. I want to be this. I wear it proudly, right? And that same thing is what's missing from the Muslims today about Islam.
There's no pride in you know, everyone's scared. They're scared to defend the hijab. They're scared to defend the beard. They don't want to do the way we wear. Oh, they're uncivilized. A lot of Muslims are on that bandwagon that all these, you know, these countries of Muslims are uncivilized and the white people are civilized. The reality is if there was true love for the Prophet and the deen, there would a lot of this, you know, these standing up for yourself, fighting, all this thing wouldn't be a thought. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be a worry. Muslims wouldn't be standing here waiting for a $10 donation to pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? People would just be giving that money. You know, we wouldn't have any of the problems that we have today. We have a huge disconnect. Do we truly love our deen? Do we truly love the Prophet? Do we truly love Allah? Everyone has to ask themselves, including me. You know what I'm saying? I ask myself, that's the one connection. I was like, man, I can learn, I can do all I want, but would that change me to be a better Muslim? I remember the Quran. I can go and become an alim next, right? If I want to. What, as a human being, for me, will that get me closer? If those people who are studying today are studying to get closer to Allah, great. I hope they do great stuff, and I hope they do big stuff. But as you can see from today's scholarship, it's not about heart and love. It's a fad, right? It's an academic
accolades.
Just to be, and exactly. I'm a scholar. I can tell you this is wrong and this is right, bro. Can you make me do right and stop me from doing wrong as a scholar? That's when you're a true scholar. Yeah. Just informing me this is haram, this is halal is not doing much for me.
You know, I hate to be redundant, but this goes back to our point. The Khilafah creates the Sharia around the environment for it, where it can enjoin good and forbid evil. Do you remember that one moment when Morsi was coming in, and remember that one viral moment where there was a non-hijabi, and she's like, "I want Morsi to win because I want someone to force hijab on me." Do you remember? There was a moment like that where she's like, "We don't wear hijab." Yeah, but I'm saying some people crave it, but they can't do it themselves. But whether it was, why she said it, but just the point itself that the system of government of enjoining good and forbidding evil, creating a society that when you're too weak to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Right, like that's super important.
That's
right?
That's community aspect.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the French in them are doing by enforcing their own dress codes in their public schools, where they're making Muslim women take off their hijab and stuff. That's what a state government does. They enforce their ideals, their values, and Muslims act surprised, like, well, why is this happening? Because they want you to be like them. They don't want you to be Muslim.
You went to their country.
Yeah.
You're there. Leave.
Yeah.
I don't understand where Muslims have this thing. Well, I've been here all my life. Yeah. So
that's how I feel. Like, man, most of us, our parents emigrated. I mean, I know my own parents, like, especially their side, they went from India to Pakistan, and they left everything. And I'm talking about, like, my grandfather was living their cush life in Nizam. I mean, like, he was up they had a house on the property in Falakhan. I mean, they were living good. They had chariots come to the house. They had nokers, their servants. Even till now, the house that in Hyderabad is like my grandfather's house. It's an auditor's bungalow. They had to put like a plaque on it. They were living a good life. And my grandfather told the Hindu guy when he was saying, no, the Muslim guy, like, stay here. The neighbors are gonna protect you. Don't worry, because you have orchards and land. They're gonna protect you. Don't worry. He said that is the difference between me and you. When Allah calls me to leave, I leave. I don't care about the land.
Yeah.
Right, and he didn't end up Kush in Pakistan. He had to leave there too. He went to England.
Yeah,
because he didn't get treated very well. But that didn't phase his decision. It didn't phase what his responsibility was. Right. He ended up coming here, and now his offspring are doing very well here. Yeah. But does that mean that we may not have to move?
Yeah.
No, we may have to leave.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. Well, because they left because they couldn't be there.
It's less for everybody nowadays, bro.
Yeah.
First comes your money, your jobs, your family. Family is the biggest thing that I see that people lose Islam over today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what the Prophet said, that when the Sahaba asked him, why will we be in such a pathetic situation where all the nations will be eating as if they're a plate of hungry eaters, they're surrounding the Muslim Ummah.
We're living it.
It is literally the prophecy. I mean, literally. Like, honestly, there's nothing the foreign government can come to a Muslim land and not take.
Yeah.
They can take your women. And this is the bottom line. They can take your children. They can take your women. Exactly. They can take your wealth. They can even take your deen from you.
Yeah.
Just look at Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They can take your religion without you. And the worst part about it is you're helping them.
Yeah.
You're doing it for them.
Yeah. The dunya, man.
They just made you feel conscious about yourself. That's how much power they had. You know what this reminds me of? The Mongols. When the Mongols came, they decimated. People had such fear of the Mongols. There was an interesting story that when they conquered Baghdad, they used to be in 2 weeks and be out. That's how strong they were. And they would leave the women back to loot. That's how fearful the people were of them. They could let their women be back and loot the area.
Yeah. So
this one in Baghdad, when they were coming to Baghdad, the people were fearful. So some of them dug graves and they laid in it. Some of them went on the rooftop and they were hiding. When they left, the Mongols left in 2 weeks after they bled Baghdad dry. One guy came out and he thought the coast is clear. He went to the masjid. There was a Mongol lady there who was looting. She said, "How dare you come into this place? How dare you come here in my presence? Wait here, let me get my axe so I can execute you." That man waited there until she came back and she executed him. That's how fearful that the Muslims have become now of all the other, and it's not even by force, it's by what they're going to say about us.
Yeah.
They're fearful of the verbal execution of yourself.
And it's important to realize that the Muslims in Baghdad, they became fat and lazy. They even the Mongols, I think it was Hulagu who, when he sacked it, he said, had you used the gold on your doorknobs to make weapons instead of to buy weapons and stuff, you wouldn't be in this pathetic situation.
What have we done with our wealth and our we had an uprise, right? The Muslims had a huge uprise. I think there's a lot of wealth in the Muslims. There's a lot of key players. There's a lot of big people. But what do we do with it? What did Saudi do when they got power? They just gave them so much wealth and so much power. They just drank it to themselves and they just forgot about everything else. They didn't put up infrastructure. They didn't put up systems. They didn't put any of that stuff up, man. The few Muslim countries that had it, they destroyed them.
Yeah.
Right? They destroyed it.
I mean, I'll give you an example of even something we can relate to, even our own history. Like, you know, when Aurangzeb stepped on the scene, that was money. Like, he put the law down, he stopped that whole Deen al-Lahi stuff, he put the law down. But they got comfortable. They started saying, let the British come in. They started making these alliances. They started allowing everyone to just get away with all the crap they were doing, right? And what happened in the end?
Yeah.
You lost everything. The richest man, one of the richest men in the history of the world. Gonna go back. At that time when Aurangzeb was running India, the Muslim empire, the Mughal empire, it represented 26% of the world GDP.
Yeah, holy cow.
Imagine that power.
Yeah.
Right? These were often the Mamalik and people like, I mean, this was the work that got put in. It wasn't like that it wasn't work.
You
and then
comfortable.
you lose that, right? You become comfortable. You start
losing your deen.
Yeah. And you start worrying about what they're gonna say about you.
Yeah.
Oh, the British Empire is coming. Look how civilized they are.
Yeah.
Right? We have an inferiority complex.
Right.
Right?
You start losing the deen, man. It's all it is.
You start losing.
The minute you start losing your deen, and you start losing everything.
You know why? Because you're submitting to their desires and not Allah.
Exactly.
Their desires and their opinions become your ilah.
Right, exactly.
And that's the reality.
Yeah, even today.
Guys, awesome episode. Shaq, you're always welcome. Inshallah, we'll have you on again very soon. Are you working on anything that you want to promote?
Just we're running classes, you know, at Janwaar Fitness. We're doing our podcast. You know, Janwaar Fitness is not just a training company. Our ideology isn't just, hey, come here, train and leave. We have a whole ideology behind this thing, right? And it's about producing stronger Muslims. It's about people who are able to stand up. It's changing mentality. Yeah. When we feel that you can do it through your physical being. You know, a lot of times people have this complex, or inferiority complex, where they're just they're just not strong, they're shy, whatever it is. We believe that if we can start training you, you start getting stronger physically, then we can start getting you stronger mentally, stronger spiritually. We connect all those dots. We try to connect all those dots, you know. We want you to leave not as a strong man when you come to Janwaar Fitness. We want you to leave as a strong Muslim when you leave Janwaar Fitness. Right? So we have Shaykh Qadri on there. We have Hafiz Mustafa. These guys are, you know, in their own rights, learned people who are very fit and, you know, who kind of share the same ideologies I do. And so that's what Janwaar is really about, right? And we're not a huge like social media influencers or promoters. We kind of do our work quietly, and that's kind of the way we want to do it. And I get it. In this world today, you have to promote. You have to do what you need to do it. We just don't want to be just like everybody else. You know, that's kind of one of the things that we try to differentiate all the time. You know, that's awesome. And we're not. We try to do social media, but the thing is, the way we are, this old school. Come and see us. You'll see. You know, and
I love that. I mean, I'm going to be hopping over there too. So I know in Chicago, they're local.
Yeah.
You know, get in touch with us, or I'm sure information will be in the comment or in the description. But I'm definitely gonna check it out too. So.
Inshallah.
Awesome, brother. That's our show for this evening. Make sure you check out meccabooks.com for all your literary needs. Help us out on patreon.com/the We need your support, as the brothers just laid out. This is where your funds, your money goes towards the advancement of ideas and Muslim civilization. More to be like
love the passion there.
Oh, well, thank you. We'll see y'all next time, folks. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu
This is a big setup.
Hey man, it's open. Camera gonna come in.